Hey everybody, Bill and Deb.
Hi.
I don't think you have to yell, dear, because they hear you a lot better than I do. I mean, I do appreciate that, because I do need to be able to hear what you're saying when you decide to chime in. Let me get a little bit better shot over here so you can see Deb. But anyway, she's right behind me there. Yeah. I'm just having fun playing with the selfie stick here. Aren't I, dear?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we are, before we get started with today's topic, we just want to say that we are thoroughly enjoying our visit here at Twin Bridges State Park. I can go ahead and say that now, because we'll be leaving here shortly. But this is Twin Bridges State Park, which is right where the Spring River and the Neosho River come together to create Grand Lake. I think technically they call it the Grand River after that, but they refer to it as Grand Lake as it begins over here. But this is a wonderful little state park right here. Now, we do pay a little bit more. We pay $25 a night. I think for senior citizens they give you a 10% discount. But it's just been a very enjoyable stay, very peaceful. The weather has cooperated, except for that stormy day that we went live on here just the other day. But anyway, that's it. But you know, if you have an opportunity and you happen to be in the northeast Oklahoma area or right in there, be sure and check it out, because it's a pretty nice little campground. And you can actually come in and make a reservation right here at the office. I don't know the hours the office is open. I do know that we came in on a Monday. We had already made a reservation a couple of days before that, but we came in on a Monday and there was nobody in the office. So that tells me that possibly the office is closed on Monday, but beyond that, I really don't know. All right, but anyway, we had a follower ask a question the other day, and it's a very, very good question. So I thought we would talk about it a little bit. It says, I have a question for you two. I have a half-ton GMC Sierra with a tow package. It can tow 10,800 pounds with a maximum tongue weight rate of 1,080 pounds. I'm buying an enclosed trailer of 8.5 by 18 with a curb weight of 3,400 pounds. So with that said, should I get a weight distribution hitch with sway? And I assume you're referring to a sway bar on top of that. Well, there's a lot of things we need to discuss first. And so let's start with the basics first. As it is, when you take delivery of this trailer, most likely your tongue weight before you do your build, and here again, I'm just assuming that you're going to do a build. But before you do your build, your tongue weight's going to be roughly around 400 to 500 pounds, somewhere in that ballpark. Something else that you need to keep in mind about cargo trailers is that the setback, or the axle center line, they usually set it back just a little bit further than they would with, say, a traditional RV. So what that means is that, you know, your wheels are going to be set back further, which will also add to your tongue weight, which also affects how the tongue weight increases as you do your build. The main reason why they set the axles further back like they do is because, you know, a lot of these trailers are designed to haul heavier equipment towards the back, like, you know, a side-by-side, like a side-by-side four-wheeler, or haul a car as a car hauler, things like that. So that you need to keep in mind, because as you do your build, of course, the tongue weight is going to increase more and more depending on how much you put towards the front of your trailer. To give you an example on our particular trailer, ours is a 20-footer, and we tried to design it in such a way where we had as much weight as possible over the axle center line itself, right centered on the axle center line. But you know, we still ended up doing our kitchen in the front. We've got a refrigerator in the front, which the refrigerator itself weighed 100 pounds, but I'm sure we've got well over 100 pounds worth of food inside it, maybe even more than that. Then you add the weight of the mini split on the front, the cabinets up front, and then because we live in ours full time, so we're going to carry stuff that you would carry, you know, in a house, that you'd have in a house in your kitchen. We're going to have, you know, silver, you know, all kinds of silverware, plates and pots and pans and all kinds of stuff like that that you would normally keep in a house. So Our tongue weight surprisingly landed at around the 1,100 to 1,200 pound mark once we were completely done. So that you need to keep in the back of your mind. So in other words, you may not be able to answer this question for yourself until you get done with your build and you actually get an honest tongue weight when you're all done with your build. And so then, you know, you'll have to take that into consideration, but you'll need to get a good measurement on the tongue weight after you do your build. Now, here's what your goal is. We need to talk about what your goal is in this situation. The goal is when you get all set up and you're hooked up and everything, the goal is to have your rig setting, your tow rig setting as level as possible, and your trailer setting as level as possible front to back. And it's very, very important. I've seen so many, Deb and I both, haven't we seen this deer out on the road?
Oh yes.
We've seen so
dangerous.
We've seen so many dangerous setups where you know, you'll see them where they're tail heavy on the tow rig and nose heavy on the trailer, and we've seen them vice versa the other way, where the trailer is setting way too high. Well, what happens with that, there's several things that happen, but one of the things that happens is, like if you have it setting too low in the front, you are putting more excess weight on that front set of axles. You're also putting more excess weight on those tires. So those tires would tend to run a little hotter, and you're also increasing the odds of having a blowout, you know, going down the road. Not to mention the fact that it can affect the way your, you know, your rig handles, you know, as far as sway is concerned and things like this. You know, and if you have it setting too high in the front and too low in the back, it creates a whole lot of other issues as well. So the goal is to try to have it as level as possible. Now, before we go any further with this, well, let's get this out of the way right now, because I'm going to have several people come in and talk about the percentage of tongue weight in relation to how much your vehicle weighs. Okay, folks, most of us out there that have started researching this and we're considering towing a trailer, most of us know this already, but let's say it one more time. You want your tongue weight to be somewhere in the 10 to 15% range of the total weight of your trailer. In other words, if your trailer weighs 7,500 pounds, you want your tongue weight at the very bottom end to be around 750 pounds, or at the top end around, you know, 11, 12, somewhere in that ballpark. So 10 to 15% range is what you want there. So let's get that out of the way right quick. And yes, we're all familiar with the video that has been circulating for the last several years, where they show the little toy car on a track, and they've got the makeshift trailer on the back and show what happens when you move the weight frontwards and backwards on it. So, okay, we're familiar with that. So let's get beyond that, okay? I'm sorry, but let's just get beyond that, because we know that. So, but the whole idea, you know, of course, is to have the proper tongue weight. It's also, you know, the whole idea is to also have everything set in as level as possible for a multitude of reasons. For one thing, your rig will handle so much better going down the road. That's all there is to it. Now, you say that your tongue weight rating on your truck is 1,080 pounds. Well, so let's say if your tongue weight ended up being within that limit, and you think, well, maybe I don't need a weight distribution hitch. Well, keep in mind that when you're loading that trailer on that, even though you're within the rating of the tongue weight, and I really don't know how they would come up with that figure, but that's neither here nor there. This is the figure we're using, so we'll talk about it. But let's say if you were within that limit, let's say if you ended up with a tongue weight of 1,000 pounds, okay, and you say, okay, well, I don't need a weight distribution hitch because I'm within the limits of my rig. I'm right on the nub, but I'm within the limits of my rig. Think about the fact that you're adding that much more weight to the very, very back end of your tow rig. I mean, it's right on the very back end. what is that doing to the front end of your rig? Even if you were able to level your rig and all that stuff, you're still applying quite a bit of weight to the back end, and none of that is transferring towards the front of your truck, which can affect, you know, the way it handles going down the road, and it can affect the steering. It can affect so many different things. If you're going to be up into those ranges, I'm going to give you a simple answer. Yeah, you need a weight distribution hitch. And the reason why I feel like that you need a weight distribution hitch is when it's set up properly, not only what it does, it actually shifts some of that weight towards the front of your rig. It more or less evens up the load on your tow rig from front to back, or from back to front, let's say it that way. So you'll find that everything handles a whole lot better. You know, it's all there is to it. Now, in our situation with our van, and this is something else you got to think about too, we carry quite a bit of stuff in our van as well. And you've got to consider that, even though you have this tongue weight rating on your truck that the manufacturer says that it has, are you going to be hauling stuff in the back of your truck? You know, which would add to how much weight is applied on the rear axle of your truck. So yeah, you got to consider that as well. And this is where a weight distribution hitch will help you, because it will help shift some of that weight towards the front of your truck. It'll even it out more so when it's set up properly. There are tons of videos out there about how to set up your weight distribution hitch, even from the manufacturers where you buy it from, you know. Now, one other thing I want to caution you about is, let's say you end up with 1,200 pounds of tongue weight, which is real close to what we did. And so you look at all these different weight distribution hitches, and some of them will be rated up to, say, 1,400 pounds tongue weight. Others will be rated up beyond that. That'll handle 2,000 pounds tongue weight and what have you, and go on from there. So a lot of folks would think, okay, if this is good, then the bigger, more heavier rated one would be even better. It's not necessarily so. Now, I don't know all of the ins and outs about that, but I have read, and I didn't go back and try to research this now, but I do remember something to the effect that if you buy too big of a weight distribution hitch, in other words, one that's rated way, way, way beyond what your actual tongue weight is, that it really won't work properly. You know, you can't take advantage of the way your trailer hitch is set up. So you want to try, you know, to be in that sweet spot. Now, in our particular situation, our trailer hitch, our weight distribution hitch, is rated at tongue weights from 1,000 pounds to 1,400 pounds, and we're landing pretty much right in the middle is where we are. And when it's set up properly, which it took me a few times to get it set up just the way I liked it, but when it's all set up properly, which I feel like it is, you couldn't ask for a better handling towing experience. I mean, it's just unreal. And Deb, much to her chagrin, right, dear?
I don't know what you're going to say. Is that you drive way too fast with my trailer?
Well,
yes.
That, but I can be buzzing down the interstate, driving way too fast, according to Deb back here, and I can literally take my hands off the steering wheel and it tracks straight as an arrow. You know, I have no issues. I have no worries about that. I feel very, very comfortable and secure towing my trailer. And to be honest with you, full disclosure, we landed at that setup purely accidentally. You know, I didn't know the stuff that I know now when I originally bought this trailer hitch. One other thing that you gotta consider when you're looking for a weight distribution hitch, some of them are not designed to back up with them, like when you're backing into a spot. And when you're looking at the specs on any particular trailer hitch, and the place I recommend that you go look at specs and look at all the different weight distribution hitches would be eTrailer.com. And here again, they will show all the specs. And if you're wondering if it is rated for backing your trailer into your spot, if you're going to take it, you know, camping or whatever, it will say in the specs on that particular hitch whether it's set up for backing up or not. In fact, what it will say is not for backing. So, you know, look at that before you make a decision. Make sure you get one that you don't have to stop and unhook the torsion bars on it before you can start backing into your spot, because that can be a real pain in the rear, because you literally have to jack it up high enough to take the tension off the torsion bars before you can pop them loose. And try doing that while you're blocking everybody, you know, before you back into your spot. That ain't no fun. Now, sometimes if you're at a campground and you hear someone backing into their spot and you hear the weight distribution hitch popping and cracking and making all kinds of noise and stuff like that, most likely they have a hitch that's not designed to back up with. So keep that in the back of your mind as well when you're searching. So fortunately, and here again, that was purely accidental on our part, our hitch is one that we can back up with. But I didn't know to look for that when I bought the hitch. I found one that landed in that sweet spot of where our tongue weight was, and that's as far as I took it, and the price was right. And it's made by Kurt, C-U-R-T, Kurt. I'm probably posting a photo of the website right now, but we got it through eTrailer.com, and I think it was under $350 for ours. But anyway, you know, check that out and be thinking about that. Now, you asked about a sway bar. You know, we don't have a sway bar on ours. We don't need a sway bar on ours because, like I said, I can take my hands off steering wheel. It tracks straight down the road. Crosswinds don't affect me all that much. Now, you're gonna have issues when an 18-wheeler passes you, and when I see one coming, I get ready for it, you know, to make a small correction, because 18-wheelers, especially on a windy day, if you're bucking crosswinds, will tend to try to suck you into them when they come around you. But I think you're going to have issues like that whether you have a sway bar attached to it or not. Now, and sway bar or whatever you want to call that, but you all know what I'm referring to when I say a sway attachment. If you did not get the extended tongue, and this is one thing that we did do on our trailer, we got an extended tongue. If you haven't ordered your trailer yet, go ahead and add an extended tongue. Get that longer tongue, because we've had both. We've had both with the standard tongue length, and we've had them with extended tongue. The one that we have now has an extended tongue, and there is a night and day difference in how they tow with that extended tongue. So just keep that in the back of your mind. They do make weight distribution hitches, though, for that shorter tongue, like what you would have on a trailer that does not have the extended tongue, a cargo trailer. So you might want to keep that in the back of your mind when you're researching them too, if you've already got the trailer coming or if you have one that has a short tongue. Now, in our particular situation, we also had to use airbags on ours because we have quite a bit of weight in the van itself. We are still within the specs as far as how much the van can haul, how much it can tow, and all that stuff. But when we discovered that our tongue weight was where it was, we actually moved some of the stuff that we carry towards the back of the trailer to move some of that weight to the back. And you know, our e-bikes, which altogether, when they're on the rack, we're going to weigh in around 150 pounds. And we now carry the e-bikes on the back of the trailer as well. Our good friend Brad, he designed and built a receiver hitch for the back of our trailer to haul our bikes back there. But I want you to understand too that just because we put an extra 150 pounds on the back of the trailer, it does not equate to 150 pounds less tongue weight on the front. You know, it will lower the tongue weight a little, but not near what you think it might. But every little bit helps when you think when you're pushing the limits on your tongue weight. I wish there was more I could explain, but I really think I've gone as far as I care to go on this subject. Even though here's my personal honest opinion, just because your truck is rated for 1,080 pounds of tongue weight, I would never consider hooking up a trailer like you're going to be hooking up, especially if you're going to do a build on it. And here again, it all depends on your design. It all depends on how much weight do you add to the front. You'll think you're being extra careful and not putting too much weight on the front, but you also got to be careful and not to put too much weight on the back, because you want a good balance between the fore and aft on them. I probably, if I'm going to be hauling any kind of, towing any kind of a trailer with any kind of heft for any kind of a distance, I wouldn't just put 1,000 pounds of tongue weight on the back of that thing and take off. That's just my opinion, but that's my opinion. We may have a lot of people come in here and try to argue with me over that, and that's fine. That's fine. If you all are doing okay with what you're doing, that's okay. We're not going to argue about this subject. This is just what I prefer, and my preferences are based on the experience I have so far towing that trailer, which altogether weighs about 7,500 pounds, towing that trailer now for roughly about 15,000 miles in all kinds of conditions, all kinds of roads, and not having any handling issues at all. So that's about all I can say about that. Do you have anything to add to that, sweetheart?
Oh, no.
Why?
I just don't have nothing to add to that.
Well, now let's just be honest, dear. Do you feel safe and secure when you're riding down the road with me driving?
Yeah, when we're going a comfortable 50, 55 miles per hour, I'm quite comfortable. When we're going 65, I'm getting nervous.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You
heard it,
asked.
folks. Well, I do drive 60 to 65 on the interstates, and sometimes in a tight spot I'll get a little above that speed, but all I can say is the thing just handles just wonderful, and our tires, we always check our tires. I'll just throw this in here before we go. I'm going to throw this in here before we go. Before we go anywhere, like we're going to be making a run here in a couple of days to go back to another campground in northwest Arkansas, before we take any kind of a run of any consequence, first thing I do before I do anything else is I fire up the compressor, I grab my air hose, and I check every single tire for air pressure. And I make sure that they are all where they need to be before I do anything else. And that's very, very important. Always check your tire pressure before you get ready to take off. That's just all there is to it. You need to do that. If you don't have some kind of a compressor that you carry with you, you need to find something, that you can carry with you for that. What I carry for that, for when we're sitting here and we're plugged in, I carry a 6-gallon pancake compressor. You can buy them all day long for around $100 to $150. And for emergencies on the road, I carry a tire inflator that's powered by 12 volts, as you plug into the battery. And we did a video about that one here a while back, and I'm just loving that thing. It's just really nice to know we've got it with us. Anyway, I guess that's it. Anything else, dear?
Nope.
Are you enjoying yourself here at this campground?
Yes.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Very peaceful.
Me too. Me
Very
too.
nice.
We're probably going to come back here someday too. Probably going to come back. Anyway, you guys take care. This is Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures, and you know exactly what we're going to say. We're not camping.
We are living.
Y'all get out there, do some living, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.